Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I do college football and college basketball videos every single day. Yes, I'm a West Virginia fan, but I cover all of college football and basketball. We have a lot of things going on over here at Golden Blue Dude as well. Don't forget to go and check out my Patreon page. We have a much bigger selection than what we did before. And we also have 2 contests going on. The first one is the PayPal contest. The person with the highest PayPal donation at the end of this month will win a 42-inch Roku Smart TV, a prize worth $300. The second contest is a Super Chat drawing. All you have to do is join me on one of my live shows, Super Chat $5 or more, and you're entered to win a special prize from Golden Blue Dude. If you want to know what the prize is, you'll have to join me on one of my live shows. Here's what we've given away so far. A full-size helmet, along with a $50 prize from TriStateWithSketch.com. We also gave away $260 in the regular season score prediction contest week by week, and also a grand prize of $100 under a bowl challenge. And we have many more contests to come. So we've all kind of known that the ACC and the SEC don't exactly get along. I wouldn't call it a rivalry or a hate, but they definitely don't get along. Well, apparently it's a little bit more deeper than what we all suspected. This might actually be a little bit of a rivalry going on, to the point to where the ACC might actually be sabotaging the SEC when it comes to the playoff expansion. And it all starts with Jim Phillips. Jim Phillips is the new ACC commissioner. He was hired in 2021. The biggest thing that he has to deal with right now is that horrific TV deal that the ACC has right now. That TV deal was struck in 2019 before Jim Phillips was hired. An ACC TV deal runs through 2036. It's valued at $240 million per year. Now, the gap per school between the SEC's TV deal upcoming and the ACC's current TV deal is $4.3 million. That's per school. That's a significant advantage for the SEC. And on top of that, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 media deals expire in 2023 and before the 2024 season, respectively. So the ACC is behind the 8 ball when it comes to TV deals. But apparently, Jim Phillips has an excellent reputation when it comes to the ACC coaches and athletic directors. Multiple ACC school athletic directors and coaches have stated that Jim Phillips has brought opportunities and has opened their eyes to things that they were closed-minded before, doing things differently. It's not the same old under Jim Phillips. Now, the first thing he addressed when he took over as ACC commissioner is he made it clear that football is going to be a priority in the ACC. First of all, he wants to go to the NCAA and request that rule that requires a conference with 12 or more members must have divisions to have a conference championship. He wants that to be eliminated. The second thing is alliance scheduling. The alliance consists of the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. Now that the ACC is wanting to eliminate divisions, the Big Ten is also looking into that as well. So the ACC kind of led the way when it comes to that front. Another thing he wants to look at is what scheduling will look like without divisions and scheduling those out-of-conference games with other alliance members. What that would look like and how many conference games they could have. The ACC does want playoff expansion. Make no mistake about that. And it's not just Jim Phillips, the entire ACC. The athletic directors, the coaches, and the university presidents themselves want playoff expansion. But they claim that the SEC, the Big 12, and the Mountain West, and Notre Dame tried to trick them to voting for the 12-team playoff expansion without providing details. Details like the effects on the regular season, the total number of games that would be played, the academic schedules, how it would affect that, how it would affect the bowls that are not included in the playoffs. The SEC asked the ACC to poll their players with limited details as to if they were in favor of the 12th team or opposed. And the ACC coaches came back and said that players voted against the 12th team based on the number of games and the possible effects on the health and safety. The ACC coaches claimed that the players preferred the 6 or the 8-team playoff expansion. The ACC also claims that the bigger reason for waiting on playoff expansion is addressing the NIL and the transfer portal, making sure that they have everything in place to manage that first. That comes first in the eyes of the ACC, then playoff expansion. The ACC coaches also claim that Jim Phillips left that 12-team playoff expansion vote that he carries up to the coaches and the players. So basically, he was saying his vote was actually their vote. And because of that, customer satisfaction seems to be at an all-time high in the ACC. Jim Phillips is also in favor of actual legislation that addresses a few things. Number 1, roster management flexibility. He feels like there's not enough flexibility when it comes to roster management. Number 2, the elimination of the preseason roster limit. Number 3, redshirt players being allowed to play in bowls to either not count towards their eligibility or use it as a 5th game without them having to burn their red shirt. And finally, more days for the preseason and spring practice so that there's more days available for rest during that particular period. Check this out. Pitt head coach Pat Narduzzi, Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney, North Carolina head coach Mack Brown, Wake Forest head coach Dave Clawson, NC State athletic director Lou Corrigan, Virginia athletic director Carla Williams, Boston College athletic director Pat Kraft, who's also a part of the playoff subcommittee, and the Miami athletic director Dan Radakovich. They all believe that Jim Phillips has given the ACC actual leverage towards playoff expansion, and here's why. The Pac-12 commissioner and the Big 12 commissioner are in agreement with Jim Phillips and are essentially letting the ACC lead the way. So the ACC's vote will also be the Big 10 and the Pac-12's vote when it comes to playoff expansion. So they might be right. They might actually have some leverage. Beyond that, Jim Phillips has addressed some other things, including the ACC network. Since Jim Phillips has become commissioner at the ACC network has broadened its coverage to expand beyond just the regular season. Stuff like campus stops on every school for the preseason, the ACC championship game itself, and ACC-affiliated New Year's Six Bowl. This year, it was the Peach Bowl between Michigan State and Pitt. During Jim Phillips' tenure, the ACC network now has a full distribution through Comcast Infinity. So now more people will have access to the ACC network, which means the ACC can make more money, which is the biggest problem the ACC has right now. Jim Phillips himself has said the biggest issue he's trying to address is trying to figure out how every ACC school can increase their revenue somehow while still being locked under this mistake that is the bad TV deal with ESPN through 2036. They're locked into that deal. So he's trying to figure out ways to where every ACC school can increase their revenue while being under that contract. So it seems to me like the SEC tried to strong-arm the ACC into voting for the 12-team expansion, trying to go above their heads, I guess, and pull the players. Maybe that'll sway them. Turns out the players were actually against the 12-team. They want the 6 or the 8-team expansion. Overall, playoff expansion would benefit the ACC. It would guarantee them a spot in the playoffs and probably multiple spots in the playoffs, especially when Clemson is having a good year. So it's not that the ACC is against expansion. They're not against it at all. They want it. But they're saying that the SEC was kind of shady about it and didn't provide details that the ACC is concerned about. And they've brought the Pac-12 and the Big 10 on board, and they're basically leading the way on this playoff expansion. So those coaches and athletic directors may very well be right. The ACC might actually have leverage on the SEC when it comes to playoff expansion. Having said that, we still know that the SEC has pretty much the most influence more than any conference, and they definitely make the most money. So I don't think the SEC is going to simply let the ACC do what they want. The ACC and the SEC are going to have to figure out a way to work together because people are following the SEC, they have their group, and people are following the ACC, they have their group. So it's basically the SEC's group versus the ACC's group. And if they keep disagreeing, nothing's going to happen. Some type of compromise is going to have to happen. But at least the ACC doesn't simply have to bow down to the SEC when it comes to playoff expansion. They indeed do have leverage. Y'all let me know in the comments section, do y'all think this is just all politics, conferences just blowing smoke, or do you think the SEC and the ACC really just don't like each other that much? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.